Heavy rain across southern England today. Yellow warnings in force from the Met Office. That secondary low-pressure system pushing up from the Channel is bringing persistent rainfall that won't to clear until this evening. And if you are in the affected areas, you are dealing with hazardous conditions right now. But this wet spell is just the opening act, because what S, developing over the next fortnight, has the potential to transform our weather pattern completely. We're talking about a possible shift from mild Atlantic-dominated conditions to something considerably colder. The question is, will it actually materialize? I've examined the latest model runs, Met Office, ECMWF, GFS, and there's genuine uncertainty in the forecasts beyond day 7. Some solutions show a classic Scandinavian high building, bringing easterly winds and bitter cold. Others keep the Atlantic in charge with continued mild, unsettled conditions. It is a 50-50 split at this range. Let me take you through what's happening right now, what is certain for the next few days, and then we'll look at that uncertain but potentially significant pattern change for late January. The current situation is straightforward. Low pressure dominates to the west of the UK and Ireland. A secondary feature has developed along a frontal system to our south and is pushing northwards. That S, bringing the heavy rain today. Upper air temperatures show mild conditions across southern regions, 7 to 8 degrees Celsius this morning across much of the south, but it's cooler further north. Scotland has already seen heavy showers through the morning, wintry over high ground in the Highlands. The contrast across the country is rather marked. Dense fog patches developed overnight across England and Wales. If you've been out driving this morning, you will know conditions have been hazardous in places. Visibility down to 50 metres in some locations across southern and southeastern England. That secondary low is intensifying. The Met Office yellow warning covers central, southern and southeastern England. The rain, once it sets in through late morning and into the afternoon, will persist for many hours. We're re-looking at potential rainfall totals of 20 to 30 millimetres, locally higher over the South Downs and North Downs. The risk here is localised flooding, urban areas with poor drainage, rural lanes that are already saturated from previous rainfall. The far east of Wales may see the rain spreading in by late afternoon as well. Most other areas to the north and west of that band of heavy rain will stay dry today. Northern England, much of the Midlands outside the southeastern fringe, and Scotland away from those showers in the Highlands. Temperatures in the southeast, despite the rain, will reach 8 or 9 degrees. But with persistent rain and a brisk southeasterly wind, it won't feel particularly pleasant, rather miserable, in fact. The Midlands and East Anglia will see temperatures struggling 3 to 5 degrees in places. Combined with the damp conditions and grey skies, it's going to be a cold, dreary day across those regions. Tonight, that secondary feature moves away into the North Sea. It'll take its rain with it, clearing eastwards through the evening. Eastern counties probably won't turn fully dry until around midnight. Behind it, further showers will edge in from the southwest across England and Wales. Meanwhile, northern and eastern areas will be dry. Could be a cold night across northeast England. Temperatures dropping below 0. A touch of frost, likely. Generally quite mild again down in the south, 5 to 7 degrees. Friday keeps low pressure in control. We'll start the day with showers across England and Wales. These will push northwards with time. Heavy showers likely across western areas. The west coast of Wales, Cornwall, Devon. But central, northern and eastern regions should see drier conditions developing by afternoon. Temperatures on Friday, 8 to 9 degrees in the south, 3 or 4 degrees further north. That north-south temperature gradient persists. The trough of low pressure begins to weaken as we move into Saturday, but there will still be further showers. Temperatures generally mild at 5 to 10 degrees. Sunday, the next area of low pressure tries to push in from off the Atlantic. We could see further showers or longer spells of rain, particularly in the west. Overnight, Saturday into Sunday, watch out for that. Generally, just a lot of cloud, dampness, and potentially quite a bit of fog over the weekend. Relatively mild again, with temperatures away from Scotland reaching 8 to 10 degrees. Into Monday, that pattern continues. Further showers or rain, probably a fair amount of low cloud, fog again possible, still relatively mild, 10 degrees Celsius in the southeast corner, that S50 Fahrenheit for those who prefer it, so that S the picture through the weekend and into early next week. Unsettled, mild, rather dull, Atlantic-dominated weather. Nothing particularly remarkable. But then we get into the more interesting and uncertain period, late January. And this is where the models start to diverge significantly. Let me explain what S at stake here. Right now, we have low pressure to our west and southwest, that S the Atlantic doing what it normally does, feeding mild, moist air across the UK. But there is also an area of high pressure trying to build over Scandinavia. And that S, the crucial battle, If that Scandinavian high strengthens and extends westwards, it blocks the Atlantic systems. The wind direction changes. Instead of southwesterlies bringing mild air, we get easterlies or southeasterlies bringing cold continental air from Europe and potentially Arctic air from Scandinavia or Russia. You've seen this pattern before. Many of you will remember the beast from the east in February and March 2018. That was a classic example. Strong blocking high over Scandinavia, easterly winds, temperatures dropping to -10, -14 Celsius in places, significant snow. The question for late January is, will that happen again? And the honest answer is, we don't know yet. It is too far out for certainty. Let's look at what the models are showing, starting with the ECMWF, the European model. Through the middle of next week, around the 21st or 22nd of January, it shows high pressure building to our east. Low pressure remains in the Atlantic but loses some of its influence. The wind direction starts backing into a southeasterly. Cooler air begins to edge in. By day 9, around the 24th of January, that high pressure over Scandinavia strengthens further. We're getting very close to a proper easterly wind pattern. But here's the critical point. There is still a lot of energy coming in from off the Atlantic. Atlantic systems haven't given up. They were trying to push through. So the ECMWF is showing a close battle, high pressure east, low pressure west. And we record in the middle. The outcome of that battle determines our weather. If the high winds, we turn cold from the east. If the Atlantic winds, we stay mild and unsettled. The ECMWF ensemble members, 51 different scenarios, show the split. On the 24th of January, all 51 have low pressure to the west or southwest and higher pressure towards the northeast. So there is agreement on the basic pattern, but the strength and position of those features varies. By the 29th of January, 2 weeks out, the picture becomes more uncertain. 25 ensemble members show the Scandinavian high winning the battle. Proper cold easterly winds. 15 members show blocking high pressure to the north, but we are still under Atlantic influence. 11 members show low pressure dominating from the Atlantic with southwesterly winds. Add those 15 and 11 together, and you get 26. So virtually a 50-50 split. Half the scenarios say cold, half say relatively mild. That S, genuine uncertainty. The GFS, the American model, tells a similar story. Initially, it had been quite bullish on the cold scenario. The midnight run from a few days ago showed a beautiful Scandinavian high building, pressure up to 1,040 millibars, proper easterly wind, cold air flooding in, hints of snow showers for the south and southeast. But the most recent GFS midnight run has backed off that. It shows the Scandinavian high starting to form, but then retreating eastwards. The Atlantic low pressure systems start coming in from the west again, so turning cooler and more unsettled into the last week of January, but not that deep sustained cold the earlier runs suggested. The GFS 6 Zulu run, however, is more aggressive with the cold. It shows that Scandinavian high building strongly by the middle of next week, up to 1,040 millibars, bringing a proper easterly wind. That easterly could well bring some snow showers into the south and southeast, dry and cold generally. Eventually, hints that we might start tapping into some very cold air away to the east. That's a much colder solution. So even within the GFS, there's disagreement between different run times. That tells you something about the uncertainty. The UK Met Office model shows high pressure taking over through next week to our east, bringing in quite cold air from the east. By the 26th of January, higher pressure building, mostly dry but still cold. The ICON model, used by German meteorologists, shows low pressure remaining dominant through the period. The low pressures keep on coming from the Atlantic. Model mayhem. That's what we are dealing with. And it's not just one model versus another. It's individual runs within the same model, contradicting each other. Why the uncertainty? It comes down to that battle between the Atlantic low pressure systems and the Scandinavian high. At this range, a small difference in the position or strength of either feature completely changes the outcome for the UK. We on the boundary, the battleground. If the Atlantic system stays strong and push through, we continue with mild, unsettled weather. Temperatures near or above average, rain or showers, rather dull, but nothing severe. If the Scandinavian high builds strongly and extends westwards, blocking those Atlantic systems, we turn cold, easterly winds. Temperatures potentially dropping well below freezing, snow showers likely, especially in areas exposed to the easterly wind. The south and southeast would be particularly vulnerable in that scenario. And there is another factor to consider, the stratosphere. What S happening up at 10 hectopascals around 30 kilometers above our heads can influence the weather down here at the surface. And there are some interesting hints in the stratospheric data. The polar vortex at its roots over the North Pole is currently strong. Cold temperatures, -70, -80 Celsius at stratospheric levels. But over the next week, significant warming of the stratosphere is forecast to occur over Siberia. That warming then shifts across to America and up to Canada and into the Atlantic. This could be just short of a sudden stratospheric warming event, or it could become a full SSW. The models are showing the polar vortex being stretched to its absolute limits. One lobe of cold stratospheric air sinking down through the western side of America, another lobe sinking down through Eastern Europe and Western Russia. And it looks like a split might occur, a split-type sudden stratospheric warming with a reversal of the winds in the stratosphere and a splitting of the stratospheric polar vortex. Now, this is 2 weeks away. But if it happens, it often has consequences for the weather at the surface. When sudden stratospheric warmings occur, particularly those focused over North America and the North Atlantic, they tend to have the greatest tropospheric response for us in Northern Europe. Not always, but often enough that it's worth watching. An SSW can lead to a breakdown of the polar vortex, allowing Arctic air to spill southwards. It can reinforce blocking patterns. It can lead to prolonged cold spells. The beast from the east in 2018 was preceded by a sudden stratospheric warming. But here, the critical point. Stratospheric warmings guarantee cold weather at the surface. They increase the probability, and the lag time can be 2 to 4 weeks. So even if we get an SSW around the 25th of January, the main impact might not be until mid to late February. So we're keeping an eye on the stratosphere as well as the troposphere. Multiple factors in play. What is the most likely outcome for late January? Based on the current model guidance, I do say we're relooking at a transition period. The mild Atlantic-dominated pattern we've had will start to break down. High pressure will try to build to our east. We'll see cooler air moving in, particularly from around the 22nd, 23rd of January onwards. Whether that develops into a full-blown cold easterly with significant snow, or whether it's just a brief cooler spell before the Atlantic reasserts itself, remains to be seen. The models will refine their solutions over the coming days. By this time next week, we'll have much better clarity. For East Anglia, I know many of you have been waiting for some proper winter weather. You've gone several winters without a decent covering of snow in some areas. This pattern has potential, but I'm not going to promise anything until we see how these systems develop. Don't get your hopes up too much just yet. But don't dismiss it either. For those in Scotland, you are already dealing with colder conditions. The Highlands saw temperatures down to -5 this morning. If the easterly pattern does develop, you to see dry, cold weather with some snow showers on exposed eastern coasts. But the heaviest snow would likely be further south. For the south and southeast, if the cold easterly materializes, you could see disruptive snow. That's the area most vulnerable in an easterly pattern. The beast from the east in 2018 hit Kent, Sussex, Surrey particularly hard. Snowdrifts several feet deep in places, but again, that's only if the pattern fully develops. 50-50 at this stage. Practical considerations. If you are making plans for the last week of January, be aware that the weather could change significantly. If you are traveling, keep an eye on the forecasts. If you are elderly or vulnerable, make sure you've got your heating sorted. Have some extra supplies in, not panic buying, just sensible preparation. For those in the south who don't see cold and snow very often, if it does develop, take it seriously. The roads want to be gritted as thoroughly as they would be up north. Most people down there don't keep snow shovels to hand, and that is fair enough. But if the forecast solidifies in the next few days, showing significant cold and snow, consider whether you really need to travel. Working from home might be the sensible option. For drivers, if we do get snow and ice, remember the basics. Gentle on the accelerator, gentle on the brakes. Increase your stopping distance. Keep a winter kit in the car. Blanket, torch, some food and water, a shovel if you have one, cardboard or an old carpet under the tires if you get stuck. Increases traction, works a treat. The CFS version 2 model, which looks further ahead into February, continues to show low pressure dominating, relatively mild conditions persisting through the first week of February and beyond. But the CFS has been known to struggle with these longer range patterns. So I wouldn't put too much weight on it at this stage. The key thing to understand is this: we're in a transitional phase. The weather pattern is trying to change. Whether it fully changes and how dramatically is still uncertain. This is the nature of medium range forecasting. We can identify the potential, we can see the competing factors, but we can yet say with confidence which one will win out. What we can say is that the mild, dull, damp weather of the past few weeks is unlikely to continue unchanged through the rest of January. Something is going to shift. Most likely, we'll see at least a brief cooler spell. Whether it develops into something more significant remains to be seen. Check back over the coming days. The model solutions will converge, we'll get better clarity, and I'll keep you updated with the latest analysis. For now, focus on the immediate forecast. Heavy rain clearing away this evening. Showers Friday. Murky, damp weekend with fog likely. Mild temperatures continuing into early next week. Beyond that, keep an eye on developments. But don't panic, and don't assume anything yet. It's a waiting game. One final thought. This winter has certainly kept us on our toes. From a very cold start to the year to this mild, unsettled spell, and now potentially back to cold again. It is turning into the winter that just keeps on giving for those of us who like analyzing weather patterns. Frustrating perhaps for those who just want consistency, but meteorologically fascinating. Whether you are hoping for snow or hoping for mild weather, the next 10 days will be interesting to watch. The models will continue to update. The pattern will continue to evolve, and we'll continue to analyze and inform. That's the situation as it stands. Heavy rain today, mild and unsettled through the weekend and into early next week, then uncertainty for late January, potential for something colder, but no guarantees yet. Stay informed, check the forecasts.